With week 3 of the UFL kicking off in just a few hours, we are finally here for week 3 pick'ems. Now, of course, I haven't done this in the first 2 weeks, but I wanted to go ahead and get this out. Supposed to be yesterday. There were some firmware updates with the programs I use, and all of a sudden all my presettings just went away, so I had to start out from scratch. So here we are. Let's go ahead and dive right on into tonight's game, and that of course is the Arlington Renegades taking on the Birmingham Stallions in their first home game at Protective Stadium. This game tonight, Friday Night Lights on Fox. And to be honest with you, we all know that the Arlington Renegades have faced two teams that haven't been doing so great. San Antonio was a question mark after week 1, like what could happen with them. Obviously, we know AJ Smith stepped down as offensive coordinator. And then the Houston Roughnecks are just a hot mess of a team. CJ Johnson is doing very horrible as a head coach, and just they can't get their process underway to essentially be a team. So this leads to the question, is the Arlington Renegades as good as what has been presented to us, or have they just faced really bad teams? Now, of course, last week, Houston's defense really kind of held up the Renegades and their offense on this. Now, of course, the Renegades have two really, really good running backs that are both on the depth chart that I'm looking here on my other screen here with Kalen and Day both sharing kind of that role of running back has helped the Renegades. And then of course, Luis Perez at that helm has done really well as well. Then we look at the Birmingham Stallions, who are 1-1 coming onto the season. And of course, they are now without their starting quarterback, Alex Magoo, after him getting injured on that first play. So essentially here, we have two teams coming in with some questions. I mean, more so with the Birmingham Stallions. Now, of course, we know in prior years that Skip Holtz, no matter who the quarterback is, has done very great at kind of rebounding and making sure that does not happen. So with this game tonight, obviously Matt Corral will get the starting quarterback position, with Case Cookus being the backup, which is still weird seeing him in Birmingham Stallions uniform or whatnot. So who am I picking in the game? Well, the big part to this one is with the questions of the Birmingham Stallions and their quarterback play. To be honest with you, kind of going a little biased here. Obviously, I'm rocking my brand new Under Armour Renegades jersey, but if I had to pick anyone to win this game, it is going to be the Arlington Renegades essentially winning this game here. I think in the end of the 60 minutes of this game, it's going to be a very close one. I think it comes down to the last couple minutes of the game, but I do think the Renegades are probably going to win this game in the last minute. That's just my prediction here. Make sure you let me know in the comments what yours is, and let's go ahead and move on to the next game here. And if I could get this right. So the next game, which is tomorrow, is the Houston Roughnecks, who are 0-2, facing off with the Memphis Showboats, who are 0-2 as well. Now, of course, when it comes to this game, I kind of, in my honest opinion, I've got to say that, like, at least Memphis being an 0-2 team, I think they have their struggles, but I think they are better off than what the Houston Roughnecks really are. So in this one, I am picking the Memphis Showboats to walk away with the home victory. I think the downfall of the Houston Roughnecks continues through week 3, and really it remains to be seen how long the general manager of the Houston Roughnecks actually keeps CJ Johnson on as head coach. If that changes this year, I think that there's got to be some kind of shakeup in Houston to really get that going. Now, of course, we know in this game, the Michigan Panthers, in what was called a crazy trade earlier this week, traded Marcus Sims to Houston, who I am hearing should be playing in this game. It may potentially sit out, kind of depends. I don't know. I don't believe. Maybe it has Haven't seen anything in that he's not playing, but we don't know the actual depth chart yet for this game. So Marcus Sims could be playing for Houston come tomorrow, but time remains. Either way, I am picking the Showboats to win this game and to get that first victory. So let's go ahead and move on here. And we are pulling up Sunday's games, which is the San Antonio Brahmas at the Michigan Panthers. Now, of course, as I talked about, there is a lot of struggles coming through with San Antonio right now. They had their offensive coordinator, AJ Smith, resign. They're 0-2. There's been some word that there just wasn't cohesive coaching experience with Wade Phillips and AJ Smith. So it leads a lot to depend on what is going to be happening with San Antonio. To me, when it comes to San Antonio and you get down to the overall perspective of my pick for this game, obviously with the Brahmas being 0-2 and the Michigan Panthers being 1-1, I do think in this game here that the Michigan Panthers walk away with this win at home. I've heard ticket sales maybe even better than last week's 10,000 attendance. So this is absolute amazing news for the league. If they could start filling Ford Field with Michigan Panther fans, getting that field or stadium louder, that could create a diversion for the Michigan Panthers against opponents, just like kind of San Antonio could have with the Alamo Dome, and then of course the Battlehawks have in St. Louis. But in the end, I think with the turmoil of the Brahmas, I think they are ending up 0-3. I think both. Oddly enough, my prediction after week 3 is that the only team in Texas to have any win whatsoever, let alone they'll be 3-0, is going to be the Arlington Renegades, where the Brahmas and Houston Roughnecks end up 0-3 after week 3. It is going to be calling for some panic for both the USFL and the XFL conferences in respected cities there in Houston and San Antonio, which is a shame because the problem with San Antonio is the fact that they don't have a home game until week 5 of the season kind of could be an issue if they're going into that home game 0-4. Not quite sure what that's going to do for the Brahmas and their fans and everything, because we have seen a correlation in the past that kind of talks about where that has happened, where the fan support and all that type of stuff drops off when the team just is not doing good. So then we move up to a Sunday afternoon game, which is a rival in the XFL and XFL conference, and that, of course, is the DC Defenders heading to St. Louis to play the Battlehawks. Now, of course, in this game, again, this is another team, the DC Defenders, who are 2-0. The St. Louis Battlehawks are 2-0 as well. But the problem here is the DC Defenders just lost their defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, who stepped down to go to Nashville to join Reggie Barlow with Tennessee State. Now, he was supposed to finish his tenured with the DC Defenders for the season, but left early and informed the league. Now, the big part about this is his son Blake is taking over as defensive coordinator and getting that promotion. So we now know that information since I posted a video the other day about this. We now know that is the case. The big thing here is it makes you wonder if that's why he actually took the role earlier, is because he knew that his son would be taking over for him, which may not happen if he waited the full year out and then come next season, they may not bring Blake back. I think this is an opportunity for his son to kind of shine here and to pick up where Greg Williams left off, because DC has had a very good defense overall. Tonight, it does raise a little bit of question with Blake Williams taking over if potentially they can beat the St. Louis Battlehawks on Sunday, not tonight, on Sunday in the Dome at America's Center, because if all things are pointing right, this could be a very, very loud game for the DC Defenders. And quite frankly, Jordan Ta'amu, as much as people want to call him an elite quarterback, there's been some hiccups here and there through the first 2 weeks. And then, of course, Abram Smith does not. He's doing decent, but he's not the Abram Smith we knew in the XFL in 2023. So, of course, with that injury he had last year with the torn ACL and coming back to there, I do question who is going to actually win this game. So when it came down to actually predicting the game and everything, I ended up going with the St. Louis Battlehawks, the home team, to walk away with the victory here. Now, I think that the St. Louis Battlehawks are a more stable team. They have dominated their opponents in the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, again, more could lead to say that St. Louis has played lesser value teams over the past 2 weeks that have led them to this 2-0, just kind of like the Arlington Renegades. But when you look at the St. Louis Battlehawks, Manny Wilkins, and just how their offense has been working along with their defense, basically being, I believe, the best in the league right now at not allowing as many points as other teams, I think this is where this is going to help St. Louis in the long run. And I think their defense is going to step up massively in this game and potentially get some turnovers and end up winning it. I don't think it's going to be a blowout fashion like we've seen the Battlehawks in week 1 and week 2, but I think that this will be by probably going into the fourth quarter. It'll be clear as day that St. Louis is going to be winning this game. So again, let me know in the comments what you think and your picks for week 3, and we'll see you back here. Again, I'm planning on doing the pick'em videos on Thursday. That's kind of my point for that, and we'll see essentially once we get there. Hopefully everything works out. So we'll see you on the flip side. Have a great one, everyone.